What is the state of AI for accounting and finance right now?
It has lagged some of the other disciplines. So, for
Mhm.
example, the areas within a company that typically have glommed onto the AI phenomenon are, IT coding, sales,
Mhm.
and marketing. But the accounting discipline's coming along. And for people that are not familiar with what the accountants do, if you will, they're dealing with a lot of transactions, a lot of data,
Mhm.
and it's data that's coming from a lot of different systems typically. So you've usually got an ERP system, an accounting system,
Right.
CRM system.
Mhm.
Of course, you've got data coming in, information coming in through your email, Microsoft Excel, or whatever spreadsheet you're working. And that's just within your organization.
Right.
Externally,
And there's
you've got
external data sets. Yeah.
right. You've got banks, typically credit card companies, your vendors and customers. So there's a lot to juggle, a lot to
Yeah.
reconcile. The good news about that from an AI point of view is that it's very repetitive. So
Right.
as you close the books every month or every quarter, you're dealing with although the data might be different, it's a similar process.
Right.
So it really lends itself to something like machine learning when it comes to an AI application. So what's
Yeah.
happening is the vendors, the ERP vendors, certainly somebody like Microsoft, they have jumped on it. They're implementing, embedding AI in their systems, and the
Right.
smart companies are taking advantage of that.
Gotcha.
So they're able to close the books faster. Reconciliations are much more accurate. And what that's doing is opening up some bandwidth for the accounting department. And typically, the accounting department is looking back. They're
Right.
closing the
So
books
it's
from
historical analysis, right?
right,
Yeah.
right. They're keeping score, which is critical. Companies absolutely need that, but they're dealing with data that, if they had the time to analyze it, they could actually help the company look forward.
Right. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Right. So, for example, if you reported on last month's financial performance, maybe you exceeded your revenue goals, maybe you fell short, maybe your net income wasn't where it should be.
Hmm.
So, the accounting department would typically report that, but would really be valuable is if not only did we miss the sales last month, but it was because of this, this, and this, and share that with the
Right.
executive team, maybe the marketing and sales department, and so on. So the smart companies are taking advantage of that additional bandwidth
Hmm.
that the AI frees up and using the accounting department to really look forward. So
Okay.
get the data, the historical data, and try and, drill down
Yeah.
into why were we off on the revenue line? Why was our margin off? And then maybe project out to some future period in terms of based on the current trend, or if we tweak this or that, what might happen. So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, because one thing that I've heard, it's funny. I've been saying this statistic for like 5 years now. I probably need to update it. But back, in 2020 when I started teaching, one of the things that I would often say in class is, I think it's somewhere around 80% of businesses are in that historical. They can look back at the data that they've created, but they're not to a point where they're starting to predict the future.
Right.
So it sounds like those accountants are starting to get into like more. It's almost like the 1.0, 2.0, 3.0 version. So
Exactly.
there's
Right.
historical, then there's predictive, which is you're starting to forecast out, and then the last I would say like the fully evolved form of analytics is if you're getting to like prescriptive,
Right.
where hey, this a great example is like a hospital. Hey, this person is this demographic and has these three symptoms. It's probably this. So that what I know of a lot of business reviews, although I'm not like a CFO like you. I mean, actually, that's an interesting question. Is the CFO's job to uncover what we are kind of talking about, like these narratives of, okay, you've got the number and it's either up or it's down, but the CFO is kind of putting the narrative of like, okay, it's here's the number and here's the why behind it.
Exactly. One way maybe to distinguish is the accounting department, the people that are closing the books, as we said, they're more internal, more historical.
Right.
The CFO's job is to take that historical data, that analysis, and look forward. So he or
Yeah.
she needs to be able to, kind of interpret what does that mean for the
Right.
future of the business? What does it mean about the health of the business? And they would be communicating that to their shareholders, to the banks, maybe people who they're trying to raise money to.
Interesting.
So absolutely vital function, and a lot of small, medium-sized companies just don't have the resources to go ahead and do that forward-looking analysis.
Gotcha.
And not only are the accounting analysis tools getting better, but as you said, the tools that can help us forecast going forward are getting better. So it's as you use them more and more, they understand your data better. The tools do, and they're able to actually take over more of the function.
Gotcha. Yeah. So watch the table when you talk.
Okay.
Because it's going to come through. What's interesting from my perspective is, so with AI, like, it was a big deal when it got to a point where it could solve the game Go, and it could compete better than world champions or whatever. It seems like accounting and Go, and maybe I'm wrong. I mean, you're in that space. Accounting and Go seem like they have a lot of overlapping characteristics. Like, so it's a set game. You even said they're keeping score. So it's almost like accounting is a closed game, where it's like everything to where you get above accounting and get into this, finance, and that's more open, which I think the AI can't come up with like an all-encompassing answer, at least right now. But I think at least it should be able to somewhat solve a lot of the accounting problem, right?
There's no question about it, and it's only going to get better.
Really,
and it's the same thing you're seeing. As I mentioned before, coding and working with your customers in terms of solving their problems and trying to get it. Yeah.
So, and it's funny because I wasn't attracted to accounting when I was younger. I don't think I have the conscientiousness or the organization level, but I mean that was always my understanding of accounting. Is it's just your sort, everything has to go in its right box and be accounted for. But yeah, I see why AI would be a little bit trickier on the finance side. But this is something we talked about kind of off the podcast, is the reason I think accounting is lagging behind like sales and marketing, for example, is the difference between subjective and objective. Because, well, actually, I mean, you can kind of explain this a little bit more. Like, well, what's the difference between those two situations, marketing and operations?
Right. So if you ask people why are the accountants lagging, some people will say it's because they're conservative, they don't like change and so forth. And there's probably some of that. I remember dealing with a lot of my cohorts when accounting systems were pushed up into the cloud. I thought that was a great direction to go, but a lot of people were hesitant. What about the security and so forth? And they were asking very valid questions. So I think the same thing is true with the AI. And as you said, it's got to be, the numbers need to tie out, they need to make sense and so forth. So there's some hesitancy there. But I think now the proof is kind of out there that you can train these systems, or these systems are trained to understand your data, understand your processes, and start to do more and more of the legwork for you. I'll give you an example. You get an invoice from your electric company, right? And it's got to be classified in your accounting system. Well, it gets classified the same way every month, regardless of what the month is and what the dollar amount is. So that, as I said before, that's perfect for a machine learning application where, okay, a bill comes in from Duke Energy, it should be charged to this particular part of the accounting system.
Gotcha. That's actually what I wanted to kind of ask you next, or guide the conversation around is, do you have some concrete examples of AI and accounting and the finance space? Actually, before you get into that, are there any examples in the finance space?
There's several vendors that I have a lot of respect for, and the ones that are kind of leading the charge are dealing with the disbursements side of the house.
Gotcha.
So that's spending money. You're dealing with third-party vendors. One area that's fairly complicated, just in terms of from a control point of view, is if you've got employees that have credit cards and are out in the field. They've run into issues with the card gets shut down. I'm over my limit. Getting receipts from people is a real chore. So you've got financial technology or fintech vendors that are leading the charge there. They're creating these systems that are able to pull that all together. So somebody's out in the field and they can pull up on their phone their expense reporting system. They can take a photo of the receipt and link it to the transaction inside their phone, and it just gets automatically uploaded into the accounting system.
Gotcha.
And again, you've got that coding aspect of, okay, John was out doing a construction job this weekend, and it's got to be coded to something. The system will over time know that that particular transaction needs to get coded to this particular place. So
Gotcha.
the accountant doesn't need to intervene.
Okay, very cool. What's interesting is we got Craig right here. That sounds very similar to one of the things he did in one of his internships.
Okay.
Craig, is your microphone working? All right, because I can tell the story if you want.
I can turn it up.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, so Craig.
Well, we did at a point in time, I made a tool. You could kind of piece it together with, I guess they call it like machine vision or whatever, some of the AI stuff that's pretty good at reading nowadays. And I had put together a tool that would let you, you could have the app on your phone and you could snap a picture of a receipt and it would send it through, I forget which AI service we were using, but it was an Azure linked service. And so it would send it off and could read through the receipt and it would itemize it into an Excel sheet and then just add it as a row to an Excel sheet that they had. I made a tool like that for some business development people at a company I worked for before.
Yeah.
That's exactly what these systems are doing. The only step that's different is instead of going to the Excel spreadsheet, it would go right into the accounting system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it sounds like there's probably hundreds of examples that we could probably pull off. Because one of the things that you and I actually sat in on a call with was with Flowcast. Do you remember that conversation?
I do. Yeah.
So that was with Flowcast is a company, and by the way, we're not sponsored on this podcast by them. Flowcast is a company that allows you to close out. It's the closing of the books each.
Right.
And is that on a monthly basis?
Most companies do it on a monthly basis. Yeah.
And I mean, looking at just you were following along. I was like, I was lost about 5 minutes in the conversation because what makes closing of the books so complex is just the amount of accounts that are out there.
That's part of it. Somewhat. One factor is the time pressure.
Okay.
A lot of companies want their books closed, say, in 5 days. So you've got to make sure you've got access to the data.
Yeah.
You reconcile the data. Everything makes sense. You've got to go through a review process. So that's really where a lot of the complexity comes from.
Gotcha.
But what Flowcast is doing, and again, I think they're right on in terms of where they're headed is, I mentioned before, that repetitive process, right? So the closing of the books is almost identical from month to month.
Right.
Except for the transactions you're dealing
Right.
with. They also deal with compliance, getting ready for the audit if you're going through an audit process. So there's certain formats that you need to present the data into your accountants.
Gotcha.
The tax returns. So this is all deliverables that are using the same data source. It's just you need to slice and dice it differently depending upon who the end user is or who you're delivering it to.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So next question I got for you is, what is your favorite kind of large language model that you, or do you use different LLMs for different purposes?
I'm using ChatGPT.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Very cool. But what you're going to demo today is Copilot.
Correct. Right.
Which do you like better of the two of those?
I'm learning to really get into Copilot.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So Copilot has been out probably for well over a year.
Yeah, it's been out for a while.
It's another one that has really lagged some of the other competitors. Did not have a good reputation up until maybe 2 months ago. But really, what that's
Okay,
for people
I'm learning new things here in real time because I've actually tried to make content on the YouTube channel with Copilot, and it's frustrating because it changes every time.
It sure does. Well,
So
that's
it's like repeatable process. Like, how does that factor? Does that factor into your, I guess, hesitancy, or is that a concern of yours?
in terms of using it.
Yeah.
Well, I want to use it because Microsoft is going to get that right, if you will. So what their strategy is, they're using Copilot as the way to embed AI across.
To start training the AI on like what people are asking for, or
Well, essentially what they're doing, at least the way most users are going to experience this, and I'm talking about people that are using Microsoft Office, Microsoft 365 specifically, is they're taking, it's really ChatGPT's or OpenAI's ChatGPT 4.0 model, and plugging it into the Office environment.
Okay.
So you've got generative AI working with your content. And again, this assumes that you're using Microsoft's back office. Doesn't interface or work with Google and all of their back office. And what they're trying to do, Microsoft that is they're really trying to make it such that those users should never have to go to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It becomes their a model of choice. And I think they're on their way to doing that.
Yeah. Well, it seems like their moat, so to speak, would be the fact that you've signed up for a Microsoft 365 account.
Right.
This is probably either included or deeply discounted because it's through this.
Right.
Yeah, because one thing that I'm realizing as we're talking right now is with my ChatGPT account, it's like I've used it enough that it knows who I am, so it's giving me a much more I wouldn't say more accurate answer, more contextually relevant answer. And then when I go into Copilot, I just type in a question and it doesn't know. It would be really nice if I could prompt engineer Copilot, but I don't think it's there. Or is it there now?
Well, I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, but maybe the best way to explain it is if we can do a demo of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Craig, you want to go ahead and pull up his screen? Awesome.
So this is the interface when you first log in, and there are 3 or 4 different levels of Copilot. There's a free version that's available to anybody, and then there are 2 or 3 other paid versions. I've got the highest level subscription, so what that gives me is the higher end functionality. So you don't have all the same functionality that you across all the different versions of it.
Gotcha.
And it gives us security. So if you've got the highest subscription, it is going to give you the same security as if you were a company subscribing to the Microsoft 365 environment.
Oh, that's great.
Right. And let me log in and show you what one really interesting feature about it.
But while you're doing that, when I was talking about prompt engineering, so ChatGPT gets to know me as I'm using it more. Like it'll remember, oh, your birthday's X date,
Right.
or hey, he works in finance or whatever. With Copilot now, it just seems like it's almost like going on a first date, and it's like kind of you're getting to know each other for the first time every time.
Yeah, I have seen where it does know.
So it's starting to,
yes, it does. Yeah.
Okay, especially once it starts using the stronger engine.
Correct.
I imagine it's going to be. I mean, it's like an arms race. It's kind of incredible to witness this right now.
What's going on with it?
Just with AI, yeah.
Absolutely,
like it's. I've not seen anything.
Right, and if you think, I don't know how familiar you are with Microsoft and the various applications that they've gotten into over the years, but they've stumbled a number of times out of the gate. But other than maybe the search engine, which I don't think they've really been able to penetrate Google's dominance there. They pretty much dominated every other place, whether it's database, office productivity.
They've got the distribution.
They've got the distribution, and they've got the money. And, the AI, if they can become the AI interface of choice for their existing install base, it's just,
they've won. They've won the AI race, yeah.
That's right, or at least for that segment, absolutely, yeah. So I'm pretty convinced they're going to get it right.
Well, because it was similar with Tableau and Power BI.
Right.
Because Power BI was what, $10 a month if you have the Microsoft subscription, and then I think Tableau was, I don't know, like 10 times as expensive.
Much more expensive. That's right.
It's funny because a lot of companies actually ended up getting both Power BI and Tableau, which is weird. All right, let's jump back to this demo.
Okay. So this is the screen you'll first see when you log into Copilot. For anybody that's used ChatGPT, this should look very familiar. It's more or less their screen. And again, it's sitting on top of ChatGPT 4.0.
Okay.
And then it's connected to what's called Microsoft Graph. And Graph is essentially a container containing all of your Microsoft Office data and functionality. So it's an API that connects.
Very cool.
And that's how they enforce the security. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So if you look at my screen here at the very top in the center, you've got two buttons here. There's a button for work. So what that's doing is it's pointing to my office environment.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's basically like, what terminal do you want to
Right.
analyze?
And it's a very secure wall here between the two. So there's work here and then web is here. So essentially the way I look at it is when I click on the web button, this is ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Right. So let me take you, and one other thing I want to point out, I mentioned the security before. If you look over here, it might be a little hard to see this on the screen, but there's a green shield in the upper right. And that indicates that I've got the version of ChatGPT that's got the highest level security.
Okay.
So when I'm pointing to work,
It
that
switches to
data should be completely secure regardless of what search I do and how I manipulate that data.
Gotcha.
It's working within my office environment. On the left-hand side, this is very familiar to the menu you would see or the choices you'd see in ChatGPT again. I'm going to click on search. So I've got several searches down here that I've done over the past few weeks. This is all pulling from my Office data, my Microsoft Office data. And in fact, if you look at the screen up here, it says find content across your organization. So that's what it's pointing to. It's not pointing to the web, it's pointing to my data. In the interest of time, I'm just going to click on one of these and show you the results that I got. So I went and asked it to look for all of my emails, so it's now looking in my Outlook, that related to a particular type of banking transaction. It's called an ACH.
Okay.
Came back with some emails. I asked it to, I knew that I was dealing with a gentleman named Russell, and that we had gone back and forth on some issues with ACH, and I asked Copilot to draft me a response to Russell, an email to Russell, ask him if he's got everything he needs or he needs something from me.
Yeah.
So ChatGPT went out and drafted a memo. Was that the greatest thing since sliced bread? No, but you know what? Over time, it's probably going to save me quite
Those
a bit of
little
time.
micro, that would have been an extra minute and a half.
Right, but over time, and the other thing is it drafts emails that are a heck of a lot more grammatically correct and coherent than what I would do if it was me, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So I've learned to really lean on this, okay?
So it's like, this is interesting because we've been talking about this for, when did we go to Lonely Park Filling Station to have lunch that day?
That was well over a year ago. Could be 2 years ago, right?
Well, this was when we went and talked about AI for the first time. I think that was 6 years ago. Or it's not 6 years, 6 months ago.
Yeah, okay.
Because you were like, oh yeah, I want, because I was talking to you about starting the meetup.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I think it's a great idea. I've been trying to learn this. And yeah, you've learned like quite a bit. It sounds like you've like not only learned it, but you've immersed yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which I think immersion is the right word. It's almost like learning Spanish.
It really is. It's very, very different, especially for somebody who's been doing things a certain way for many, many years. When I first got out there and I was starting to do these prompts, I don't want to break the system, right? I don't want to overtax it. Well, now I've got the opposite attitude, right? I want it to do serious work for me. I don't really hesitate to put a heavy-duty prompt into it and let it try and see what happens, right?
Yeah.
I don't take everything that comes back as gospel. But when I do something on my own, it's not gospel the first time either. Especially if it's something I'm going to share with somebody else. So
gotcha. What's funny is when I think of Copilot, I think of Excel because there is literally an icon, like a Copilot icon that you can click on Excel. I thought that's what you were going to show me. I didn't realize you're teaching me right now in real time. I didn't realize that Copilot had gone and I've never seen this interface before of the basically the chat box. Right,
and this is why I think when people do become aware of it, and as Microsoft really perfects this, people are this is gonna be what they're gonna go to. Especially if they're looking for something that's in their inbox. So, the interesting thing is not only your inbox, but it interfaces with Teams, Excel, any of the Office suite. So you could tell it to go out and let's say you've got a client meeting coming up and you've traded emails with them, you've created PowerPoints, maybe spreadsheets. You could say, go out and find all the communication I've had with an ABC company.
That's powerful.
Over the past year.
Yeah.
Or if you think about, if you're a new salesperson and you just inherited a whole bunch of new clients
Right.
go out and look at the historical emails. So again, you got to get that new mindset about it. But to me, this is really, really powerful.
I mean,
So
it sounds like it fundamentally changes the way work functions.
I think it does. And I'm going to show you a couple other things, especially for the financial folks, that I think change things. So I'm still in that same interface. One of the things that is available are agents. So, and again, I'm a novice here, but we've got AI assistants, which is largely what Copilot's done thus far. And they're starting to introduce agents. So these are, standalone mini apps, if you will, that are going to go out and do some of my work unattended. I've got to train it. I've got to write the prompts and so forth. But that is really, really powerful, probably across the whole company, but definitely for the accounting people.
Gotcha.
Because, again, we do so many things over and over again, month after month, or quarter after quarter.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So show me some of these examples. I'm curious.
Well, let me jump over to my email, because right now we've been looking at this from the Copilot interface.
Okay.
I'm actually going to go inside an Office application here. I'm going to pull up my Outlook.
Because I have heard it's like starting to get like embedded within everything now.
Well, you can see here's the Copilot button right here. And it really shows up inside. If you're subscribed to it, it's going to show up inside every Office application when you pull it up.
Gotcha.
All right. So I just closed it for now. This is a nice to have, right?
Yeah.
But they've got this function called Summary by Copilot. So I'm pulling up a new email here. I just click on Summary by Copilot, and what it's going to do is within 5 seconds summarize the entire email. So I don't have to go thread through it. I've been subscribing to a lot of AI newsletters and emails, and they can get pretty wordy and pretty lengthy, and also a lot of them are repetitive. They're all talking about the same.
That's true.
Latest news, right? So again, nice to have, not a reason necessary to subscribe to Copilot, but that's a big help. All right, so now I'm inside of my email again. I just pulled up Copilot, and I'm going to do a prompt. I'm going to say, show me any emails related to ACH. So at ACH, that's that banking transaction I talked about before. So right now you can see it. It's going and looking at my emails. And that was pretty quick. It came back with everything. And if you scroll down, you can see the individual email transactions or email threads.
See, what's hitting me about seeing this is what's new is it's in your inbox. So where ChatGPT doesn't get that level of visibility into what I'm working with.
Exactly. That's, as I said before, they are embedding AI into their applications.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah, this is really cool.
Yeah, I think this really is. So, the functionality, as you said, you've seen it in ChatGPT and some of the other large language models. So this is going to be a similar type flow where, okay, here's what you asked for. Can I do something else for you, right? So it's going to come back and say, do you want me to refine what I returned to you? Do you want me to draft a follow-up email to them and so forth? So again, potentially a big time saver over time. Yeah.
Gosh, that is really cool.
Okay.
So what are some of the finance examples?
Right. So let's jump over to Excel.
Okay, so good. This is what I definitely wanted to get some of this.
Okay. All right. So what I'm going to show you here is, again, Copilot as an AI assistant.
Okay.
All right. I've already got a spreadsheet that I've developed.
Gotcha.
This is an income statement for 3 years, and this is fairly standard in terms of the format. It's got by revenue, all the different expense categories, and then the bottom line is the net income for the company.
Gotcha.
Okay. Accountants are generally going to build this every month or however often they report. So what I'm going to do is pull up Copilot. And one of the standard measures is something called compounded annual growth rate.
Okay.
So that's essentially looking back at the revenue, say you reported, over multiple years, and how much have I on average grown over those years. And it's got to take into effect compounding. Okay. So it's not a trivial calculation, especially for a layperson. So I'm going to ask it to calculate And what I love about this is it allows me to
spelling
mistype,
errors.
right?
Yeah.
and it can figure out what I'm asking for. So calculate the compounded, and I'm going to summarize it, annual growth rate for revenue for 2022 -2024. So it'll go out there and take a look at the data, and it's going to hopefully come back with one, the right answer, and two, a little bit of an explanation as to how it arrived at that. So there we go.
Wow.
That is really
See, this is what's amazing about so that startup I'm working on with custom GPTs for the high school students, it's starting to show things like this. Like it breaks down like the steps of each individual like problem.
so it tells you how it got
Right.
got to the answer.
Is it showing you that? Like
Yes.
what are we seeing here?
So this is again compounded annual growth rate. It's telling me, well, first of all, the answer is 23% a year, which is
Okay.
a really good
That's
growth
a
rate.
lot, yeah.
That is a lot. But it's telling me how it got there. It said I used the following formula, and this is how the formula translates into the
I like
answer.
this so much more than when I was creating content 6 months ago on this.
Oh yeah, it's
Because it would
come a
just
long way.
it would just show it in like it would just show like here's a chart, and then you click on it, it opens up a new tab, and then you could go in and mess around with it.
Right.
Versus this is so much more low risk, I guess, because like being able to see the transparency of being able to see the steps and the assumptions and the thought process, because you could probably go in and just modify it, right? Like,
Absolutely.
hey, step 2, you did this wrong. I want this assumption instead.
Correct. Right.
So that makes it so much more like pliable, and that's potent. That's
It's
amazing.
very potent. And as I said before, to me, the term is it's the AI assistant. I mean, it's like having somebody sitting
Right.
next to me that can do the research for me or do the calculations for me.
I mean, it's almost like having an analyst. Like,
There's no, that's exactly what it's like,
Yeah.
right? So I'm going to ask it one more thing. And again, this is going to be very much finance related. So there's a term called EBITDA.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're familiar with
I'm
that. So
familiar
it's
with that.
earnings before interest, taxes,
Taxes,
depreciation, and
yeah.
amortization. So it's a mouthful.
Yeah.
But it is a standard metric. It's probably the leading metric when it comes to companies that are planning to sell
Right.
eventually.
it's like the true value of what the company's actually worth, right?
Yes. So, and the finance world, they'll take that EBITDA number, which is essentially the cash that the company generated
Yeah.
for a year, and then they'll multiply that by an industry multiple. So if you're in, the professional accounting space, maybe the EBITDA multiple is 5 times EBITDA. That's what they would
Yeah.
typically offer for a company in that space.
Gotcha.
So very critical. So I'm going to ask it to calculate EBITDA for 2022. Let's see what it comes back with.
So what's it?
Well, it's coming back with all the calculations, but the interesting thing is that the way I laid out this model, there's not enough information to calculate EBITDA.
Did it make an assumption, or did it say let you know?
It came back and let me know.
See, that's
That is
amazing.
really cool.
Because
To me,
yeah,
it's really cool.
because that's the big thing about AI is that it's a black box.
Right.
It gives you something, and then up until this point, for the most part, it'll just give you something, and then you have no way of examining it.
Right.
Like it's just a number on the screen.
It's just a number on the screen. Right. So it tells me that what I'm missing is the interest,
yeah.
the depreciation, and the amortization. So it's probably buried in those numbers that we looked at. And it's telling me that, and it's actually coming back and saying, do you want me to, can you give me some assumptions so I can maybe approximate what those numbers might be? And then it'll come back and give me the EBITDA calculation.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really, like you said, 6 months ago, it would probably really struggle to do this if it could even do it at all.
Yeah. Well, because this is new, and the reason I brought up the like kind of custom GPT thing is when I was trying to do it 6 months ago, it was all in Excel. Like it would I guess it would come up with a theory, and then it would plug it into Excel, and you could go in and modify it. Can you do that for this? Like,
Can I do what?
can you say turn this into the next tab, and then let me like mess with the equation?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, I could. if I had a particular formula I wanted to put into the spreadsheet that I couldn't remember or I'm
Yeah.
not familiar with, I could say, give me the formula for how do I do a VLOOKUP? How do I calculate, ROI with a terminal value, right? These are
Right.
things that are fairly technical that a lot of people, including myself, I don't remember the formula
Yeah.
because I don't do it every day. But now
Right.
you can go back to Excel and say, you can either say, give me calculate the ROI, or you can say, what's the formula for the ROI? And then you can plug it into the spreadsheet.
Gotcha.
In the interest of time, I'm not going to get too much further into this, but you could take something like this
Yeah,
and
this
say,
has been a great little teaser. And also, too, I'm learning so much just having this conversation with you.
yeah. But you could ask it to suggest analysis I didn't think of. So maybe it's one thing that this doesn't include, for example, is the margin, gross profit margin.
Okay.
If I went back to it and said, can you give me some other metrics that I should capture, hopefully it's going to come back and say, well, calculate we can add the percentage margin, we can add this and add that. And actually it would go ahead and actually lay that into the model.
Gotcha.
So what it's evolving, what's happening is it's moving from being that AI assistant to being that agent.
Yeah.
And
That's a pretty big step.
it's a
it
huge
seems like.
step. What I would like to do on October 30th is actually show the agent in action. And
Okay.
we're going to ask Excel with a new program or a new application called Excel Agent Mode.
Uh-huh.
We'll give it a prompt and ask it to come back and create the spreadsheet for us. And it's actually going to be something outside of the finance area. It's going to be for the marketing department.
Okay.
I want you to put here's what I'm planning to do from a marketing budget next year.
Yeah.
So let's say I'm the marketing manager. I'm going to spend X dollars, and I'm going to spend it across the following areas. I'm going to do some web
Paid ads.
paid
Yeah.
ads. I'm going to do some conferences and
Right.
things like that. I want you to spread it out over 12 months. I want to see some charts and things like that, and let's see what Excel can do with it. So we'll see that on the 30th. It's a new
That
release.
sounds awesome.
It's in beta right now, and you can only get it with the highest paid version of Copilot. But
Oh, okay. So this is like fresh off the presses.
It is.
Brand new.
it is. But
I've never seen it like this where it's like 6 months was nothing up until like a year ago, maybe?
exactly, yeah. And a lot of people turn their noses up at Copilot, but so
Well,
it's
I mean,
come a long
I
way.
was one of them. Well, not necessarily turn my nose up, but I was just like, there are better products out on the market.
Right, and you know what? There probably still are in mass, but they are. You can, as you say, you can see how quickly it's moving, and they're going to get there. They've got a large investment in OpenAI, so
It's like
it's
the
going to be
Russian
interesting
war
to see what
machine.
happens with that relationship
Yeah.
over time if Microsoft develops their own competitive LLM to OpenAI.
See, I wonder if they're even going to want to compete in that space.
Microsoft?
Yeah.
My guess is they are
Okay.
because, yeah, but it's just a guess.
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Speaking of, did you hear about Amazon?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
has that ever happened before?
I don't think it's happened not on
At
that
that
large of
level?
a scale. I
That,
think there've
yeah,
been
that was
outages before, but
that
Yeah.
was wild.
yep.
Gotcha. All right. Well, this has been an amazing podcast. I've learned a ton. Any other thoughts, questions, advice?
No, I mean, if you use Microsoft Office, whether you're in the accounting department, the marketing department, HR, push Copilot. If you don't have access to it, reach out to your ID department and ask them to pay the subscription and go
Yeah.
for it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.